Welcome back to your favorite convention-related podcast, Con Job. This week, me, Dylan, and Jeremy are back to do a review of Central Carolina Comic-Con, which took place January 11th and 12th in Columbia, South Carolina at the South Carolina State Fairgrounds. So we get into... Listen close because you get to hear a little bit of a debacle of my travels to get to the show. So it was... it's pretty interesting. I always say this job I feel like is like 90% problem solving. So this one you had to you got to see firsthand where my 90% and how well I was able to problem solve. And I'm not tooting my horn. I think I got lucky on a few of the things, but yeah, I was able to make chicken salad out of chicken shit on this one, I guess is the best way to put it. So hope you enjoy it. All right, and we are back. And this week, we're back with another, what is it called? I don't even know what it's called right now. They're called show reviews. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys were able to help out. We're doing another show review this week. Jeremy, Dylan are back, and I think Dylan's a little scared of the camera, or he broke the camera, one of the two.
Yeah,
Yes.
God, he found the features on our app with the sound clips.
Thank you.
Yeah, for the oh boy, here it goes. For the few of you that do watch on YouTube, I'm driving right now onto a show, and so you guys don't get to see my pretty face.
So let's talk about it. So we're recording this on Thursday. So the show that you are going to will actually be done by the time this airs. So what show is it that you're talking about? You're on your way.
Okay, it's either Kawacon or Kawacon. I guess I'll find that out, but it's KAWA Con in San Antonio.
You'll drive
so it's about a 5-hour drive.
We won't be able to hear you because
from my house, and I got about another 2 hours on my way there.
Okay, all right. So when this airs, I will have we have Anna doing Fan Expo Portland. So that's one of Alex's shows. So let's hope it doesn't snow there this year like it did last year, because the entire place shut down. Because apparently, from what I understood after last year, that is it the city of Portland? Yeah, it's the state of Washington or Oregon, state of Oregon does not. I guess the city of Portland does not have a snowplow. And they don't have snow. They had to borrow it from another place. I don't know where they get
Sounds
it from.
Like
anyway,
we got a new business model. Let's get a snowplow and head up there in the winter.
Yeah, they just decide, you know what, why waste our taxpayer dollars on that? So, Jeremy, what do you got going on?
Prepping for Mega, and then...
Never heard of it.
Yeah. It's this little thing they do in Florida, so I'll be headed that way. And then just before that, we're going to be doing Animazing in Savannah.
Oh, okay. And that is... That's right. Dylan said that's the sister show of Savannah Comic-Con, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Never been down there, so we're going to see what it's about.
Okay. Savannah's nice. That's the box of chocolates city, right? Sitting on the bench.
I believe so, yes. And
yes.
So the big draw for that one for Jen was the hotel is overlooking the river. So
okay,
we're going to at least have some nice views.
We stayed there once in a haunted hotel, Meg and I.
That sounds more fun.
But it was the guy who wrote Brer Rabbit. He had pictures all over the walls. I don't know if it had anything to do with him, but the room we were in was haunted and had some of his pictures. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So let's talk about...
What are you doing this weekend? Real quick, what are you doing this weekend? You had any shows this weekend, Ryan?
Well, when this airs, I'll have Fan Expo Portland, but the weekend that we're recording this, no, we have an off week. So yeah, finally. So let's get into the show here. This is Central Carolina Comic-Con. It was January 11th and 12th, so Saturday, Sunday, which I spoke to Jeremy, who's the owner of it, another Jeremy in my life, and thanked him for having it as a 2-day show because they are phenomenal. And it was in Columbia, South Carolina, not too far from Greenville, as we will get into a little later. But I had quite the interesting trek on getting to this place. So as most of you listeners know, I fly American Airlines, not just the nationality. But So I was flying from Palm Beach to Charlotte, Charlotte to Columbia. And so my connection was at, let's just say it was at like 10 o'clock, right, in Charlotte. My flight was taken off at like 7, so I got there plenty of time. So I get a notification at like 2 in the afternoon saying, hey, your flight to Charlotte is delayed till 10. So now I'm going to miss my connection. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to get stuck in Charlotte, or what should I do? I can't go there tomorrow because the show starts at like noon, and there's no way I would be able to get there. So I look on the app and I found one flying out of Miami, which is about an hour with no traffic. It's an hour from my house. But in just every day living in Miami, that's like 5 hours, especially around that time. So I look at the app and it said, yeah, there's one flying out of Miami at like, 6 o'clock. It'll get you to Charlotte in time to make my connection. So all the weather that was going on in Charlotte and just South Carolina with all that snow stuff that was going on, it was causing all the delays. So I start heading to Miami because I knew it's going to take me enough time. So I start heading there. I call American, tell them I'm switching flights. They switch me over, no problem. I get there, get my bags in. I make it just in time, and get on the flight. And literally, as my flight is taking off, I get a notice on my app that says your flight from Charlotte to Columbia is canceled. So I'm in the air. There's nothing I can do. So I'm miserable. So I get to Charlotte. I'm just like, great. What am I going to do? So I go to the lounge thing and talk to the lady about getting a new flight for the morning. Like, what can I do? What are my options? She's like, we can get you from Charlotte or we can get you from, I'm sorry. It was Miami to DC, DC to Charlotte, Charlotte to Columbia. That was the new one from Miami. So I apologize. So now I'm in DC, and they tell me my flight to Charlotte's canceled. So I find the next morning, they're like, hey, we can get you out of here at 5 a.m. You'll get to Charlotte at 6:20. Okay, that's perfect. And then what's my connection to Columbia? Like, unfortunately, we don't have a connection to Columbia until like 3 p.m. So I'm like, okay, so I guess I'll just rent a car and drive. Come to find out, it was less. It was like an hour and a half. So it's not bad. So, so that's how I left it with American. Hey, I'm just going to take from DC to Charlotte and be done. I get to Charlotte, land, go to get my bags. My bags are nowhere to be found. So I'm like, what the heck's going on? So I go into the little baggage room and they're like, oh, your bags are going to Charlotte at 3 p.m. I look at my watch. I'm like, it's 6:20, and that flight, I never, I canceled that flight personally. Like, I'm not on that flight. Obviously, I'm here. And they're like, well, it's going to take us a couple hours to find your bags. I go, okay. I mean, what do you want me to do? I can't say no. I can't just have you send them there at 3 o'clock because that's everything I have. All I had in my hand was my small prints and one tablecloth. No backdrop, no nothing. So I'm like, all right, if that's what you got to do, that's what we got to do. Just find it. So I go to the rental car place, get the car, come back, and I'm just sitting there. Luckily, she's like, it could take up to 2 hours. So I'm like, to find 2 bags? Like, what the hell? It's like a big giant black case and a big giant black golf bag. Like, it shouldn't be. I guess there's a lot of golf bags. But anyway, 25 minutes later, they come down the baggage claim. So I'm on my way. I get there. The show starts at 10. I pull into the loading dock at 9:48. So, and it was 10 for VIP. So I didn't have to worry about anything there because we all know how VIP is. So I was able to, I loaded and I set up in record time. It took me maybe 25 minutes, which usually takes me like an hour. So I set that thing up like the wind. But so that was set up. So just to get into load-in, super easy. There wasn't anybody there. I walked right in. So it's probably my favorite one I've ever been to.
Now you know that you only need like 20 minutes to set up, so you can show up and set up
you know
and
how
show ready.
But you know how it goes. If you wait, if you give yourself 20 minutes, it'll take 20 minutes. If you give yourself 3 hours, it'll take 3 hours.
Yeah, I tell everyone, because everybody loves to give us crap when we're setting up. For like, if you give us 2 days to set up, like in New York, I'm gonna take 2 days to set up. If you give me an hour, we'll have something ready in an hour.
Exactly. So anyway, getting into the show. So there's 2 halls, and I was in the hall not where you enter. I was in the other hall. It took about 30 minutes, I'd say, before it got relatively steady. on Saturday in terms of just people. And I got to say, it was pretty busy. Like, I was surprised for, a show that it was a first year show, it was pretty busy for a Saturday. I didn't know what to expect coming in, but it definitely beat all expectation. And one thing I was talking, we had some other, like Lisa was there, who's been on the show with the pixel art that she does. She was there and she was near me, but we were talking, like, I would say a solid, like, 75-80% of the people who came to the booth actually bought. It was very little of, I'll come back or just kind of looking and moving on. A lot of people, they were just there to buy, and they were buying. So that was nice.
I can tell you, us being in Greenville, about an hour and a half away, they had flyers on every building in this town.
I talked to Jeremy that runs that. He's the promoter for the show, and he said about, I can't remember the exact time. I think he said 2 months. He basically went, I don't know if he said 2 or 3 hours in every direction and just papered the crap out of the place. Just with flyers.
I was seeing flyers. I didn't really see any social media stuff for it too much, but even up here, there was people talking about going down there to it. So
yeah, I had a few shipping sales that I had because I had the small canvases, but I didn't have a lot, so I had to ship some, and I had a bunch going to Greenville.
Yeah, I think they did just as from perspective of someone that still, I went, but in a different capacity. I think they did a great job getting the word out.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've heard. These are VXV events. They're not the best with communication, but this is my 4th show of theirs, and they've all exceeded expectations. I mean, don't get me wrong.
And,
it's not like
Jeremy
you're gonna
does.
Go ahead.
No, Jeremy from VXV, great. Like, he takes care of his vendors because once you're in, it's kind of like MegaCon. Like, you're in. Like, unless you do something ridiculous, like
for that show.
Because
you can't get in all of his shows.
I'd say and that's because he has such a great retention rate. I'm saying, like, once you're into his shows, like, he takes care of you, and that's why it is hard to get in. But if you can, he always puts on a good show. And
and it wasn't super busy in terms of other artists and vendors. Like, it wasn't. I mean, Jeremy, you were there, you saw it. It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't like 10,000 people, like booths.
No. I think they, like, there's this, like, triangle, like, there's this formula, right, where it's like you have number of vendors and artists compared to attendees, compared to, like, whatever area that you have for, like, space and other things you're competing with. And it was like the perfect amount of everything. So 2 halls that were actually, so it was at the fairgrounds down there, which I'd never been to. And I will say, to me, when I hear fairgrounds, I'm thinking like dirt floors, like like I'm thinking like, this is not good, like, dark, like dim, like I figured it was going to be cold. But walking in this building, it was really nice. Everything was super clean. It was comfortable. It was these 2 buildings, and I guess they had something across the other side too. I think they had like a stage that they were doing something with. I didn't go over there, but it was like a really good size. And I think it was the right amount of vendors and artists so that everybody had enough people coming to them to make it worth their while. I don't know, Ryan, if you kind of feel that same way, but
yeah, definitely.
I feel like it's really easy for promoters to oversell. Like, I know this show had a wait list. I signed up for it like super late because I didn't think I would have time. Then I was like, oh, I actually would have that weekend. I can go do that. And then they were already sold out. So I know they easily could have added more people in there, but they didn't. And I think that worked out really well for everybody.
Yeah. No, I think it's nice that it didn't seem like he was going to be just, hey, let me just cram him in as much as I can and get as much money from the vendors as I can. He was really cognizant of that. So that was good. So where was I? Saturday.
You had a rocky start Friday getting there, but you ended up having a good time overall on Friday.
I had a rocky start.
Oh, that's right. It's just
Saturday. Yeah. I had rocky start Saturday getting there. But yeah, it was overall. I was very happy. I had another vendor there that I get to see periodically, and he was like, "Hey, let's go to dinner," and it was not happening. It was rough. But no, and then I had somebody that I knew that showed up on Saturday.
Yeah, it was fun. No, Ryan was like, "Come down, come check it out." And I mean, I was curious just to see how it would go because, just seeing if I could get into that show in the future. Or
you got there. It was what, 5-ish, right? Because it ended at 6.
It ended at 6. We showed up 5:15.
The cool thing about this
showed
show,
up as a customer, not as a vendor, right, Jeremy?
Right, just an attendee. I mean, he had a badge to get in. I'll give him that. But no, he got there about 5, and the show was 10 to 6 on Saturday, which is fantastic hours. 11 to 5 on Sunday, which is phenomenal. You can check out
as good as it gets.
Yeah, you can stay in your hotel until basically checkout time, and almost, and then you can just go. You don't have to worry about doing anything. It was nice. So, but anyway, when Jeremy got there, so it started to kind of really die out around 4. Now, I normally talk about shows and I say, hey, it's always that last hour. It seems like everything gets dead. This one it was like the last 2 hours. So I don't know if it was because it's a first year show. I can't figure out why, but it did that kind of both days. But, with that said, shorter hours on Sunday, it didn't hurt anything. Like it was still pretty good on Sunday as well. But Saturday, I was very happy with sales. I did only bring 2 big canvases because I thought, I'll probably be able to hold these till Sunday, and I sold them both by noon on Saturday. And I was pissed. I was like, damn.
That's how it goes.
And then it makes the booth look weird because it's like, you have these spots with these 2 giant canvases, and now you got a 16 by 20 print there, and it looks like a miniature. But no, Saturday was very good. So
I will, Ryan. I didn't even tell you this when we got there. The parking lot was still pretty full. There were people leaving, but I think what was happening is they had that building across the way with like the stage. So I don't know if they were doing
okay, so that's where they were doing.
Or
no, they were doing
the
panels there because I was trying to figure out where, because they kept talking about the stage, and I'm like, if there's a stage, I should be able to hear somebody talking, but I don't hear anybody talking.
Yeah.
So it was across.
I think that's what it was, because when we walked in, I was like, oh, there's a lot more cars out there than there are people in here. So I think I made the assumption the wrong way, that they were all over there though.
Okay. Yeah, so no, they had a couple really cool wrestlers there. But yeah, they kept talking about the panels, like I said, and it was just like, I was like, what the hell? They're making this stuff up? So any questions on Saturday? Is there anything else I'm missing?
You mentioned VIP.
Well, hold on. Before we get into that, I want to find out the cost, because it was a pretty good, it wasn't super expensive. Let's see. So I had a corner booth.
So I know
it was $412 for a corner booth. And Dylan, you had a double, right?
Double inline, I believe, and that was $824.
Okay, so yeah, so that checks out. So mine was $412, and I had 1, so yours was $824 for 2. So yeah, relatively cheap. 100% worth it. I feel like everything was a corner. I feel like everything was in quads. Was that right, Jeremy? I can't remember now that I think back.
I think they had like some community spots that weren't.
Okay.
But I think if you were
over
buying,
across from me, they had like those. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. They didn't really have like what I would consider like an artist alley area. Right. I think everything was just kind of dispersed throughout the show, which actually I think is kind of cool as a concept. I don't know if anybody in artist alley would have preferred it to be one way or the other, but I thought it was kind of neat that everybody was kind of in the mix. No, I think it was the show was laid out well. They had celebrities kind of everywhere too. So the guests were in both of the buildings that the vendors were in. like lined up along the walls, so it kept people in both buildings pretty
Yeah,
well,
see,
I
I
would
like
think.
that instead of having all the celebrities in one. I mean, granted, if you have a crap ton, it's a different story. But this was kind of
Yeah.
like they had some over here, some over here, some over here, and they kind of kept them together like the wrestling ones were together.
Mm-hmm.
The ones from this particular show were together, so you could make your way and still hit everybody you wanted to hit instead of kind of all over the place.
Yeah. How long was VIP?
An hour. Yeah, an hour. It was 10,
An hour. So you think
10 to 11.
was it filling up before VIP time was over? Like, or was it really once VIP time was over, that's when people got in?
Trying to think, because remember, I had some. It took a little bit for everything to get in there.
Yeah.
So
And
I guess it's
you were like about as far away from the entrance as you could be.
yeah. So I was in the other hall, like facing the other side. I was right by the exit because there was a one entrance and one exit. I was right by the exit. So so yeah, I don't know if the people that were coming to me, because it took 20, 30 minutes. So yeah, maybe it was the VIP people.
Okay.
Yeah, because like I said, if it was an hour long and there was 20, 30 minutes started to fill up, then yeah, it was the VIP people. So they just kind of were walking around early.
Nice.
So now Sunday, pretty much more the same with the buyers. I did have some people who were like, "Hey, I looked here yesterday, and this is the one I want." But a lot more Sunday. I noticed it was a lot more talkers. People just hanging out talking. Yeah, most of them bought stuff too, but it wasn't just like, "Here's what I want. Here's my money. Let me go." The quick transactions. It was more like, I'm gonna stay here for 5 minutes and buy a couple of prints and then go. You know what I mean? It was a little more of that going on Sunday, and it sucked because it sucked for them because I had the Bills game going on right there. So I was like, yeah, really? Touchdown. Wait, what? So, but no, Sunday was more the same. It was you always want it to be, if you can get kind of half or a little bit more than half, and it was 65, 70% of Saturday.
Not too bad with the shorter hours too.
Yeah, 11 to, like I said, 11 to 5, and it got really dead around 3, maybe 3:30. And then of course I had to, because I flew into Charlotte, there was nothing leaving out of Columbia, so I had to drive back to Charlotte. So that was fun. But again, hour and a half. And since my friend that came to visit me on Saturday didn't do it, I had to stop at Bojangles and get my dirty rice on the way out. And boy, was it yummy.
I feel like Bojangles for me is how everybody I know that lives near an In-N-Out, they're just like, it's whatever.
But again, for me, it's just the dirty rice. That's all I like.
Well, for me, it's just a double.
Yeah.
And fries and a shake.
Remember we went there, was it Dallas? Yeah, it was Dallas. Me and Max and Jenny, yeah. We were like, let's just go. We got time. Yeah.
That was one of my great disappointments of Fan Expo San Francisco, was I didn't get to go to In-N-Out. I was so close, but so far.
Yeah, the Dallas one, we drove right where JFK got shot. Because we saw the grassy
sort of, yeah, close.
Yeah. Anyway. So what else? What else we got? Loadout, super simple. Walked right out the back door.
Yeah, I think shows like this, if you can find these kind of, like, I would even call it like a diamond in the rough, but like if you can find these little unicorn shows that are smaller, that can have like a really good upside, like the stress of doing a show like this.
Right, 2 days.
Plus only 2 days,
You can't beat a 2-day show. I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
you can't beat a 2-day
think
show.
It's fun to go do all of these big shows, but if you can get some solid ones like this that just produce, like, not, like I said, just low cost, like low investment time wise too, and have a decent payoff, like it's, those things are, as many shows as there are now, finding a show like this seems harder and harder to do.
Yeah. And I think after last year with how everything went, with just everybody kept saying it's down year because the election, blah blah. I pray that it's going to be back to normal this year, because I don't know what else could happen. But
with all that being said, do you wish there was a third day for next year? Like, if you had a good time, are you like, hey, No, you're happy.
I feel like this is the type of show where if you added a third day, you're going to make the same amount of money, maybe slightly more, but you're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 hours more. And you're not going to. It's not going to. And I even said it to Jeremy. I saw him Sunday morning just walking around, and I was like, I just got to say thank you for a 2-day show. And he's like, yeah, all my shows. I think he said he has 1 or 2, 3 days, but he's like, I don't see the need. I said, neither do we. Don't get greedy. Don't get greedy.
Yeah.
There's no point in it.
Yeah, I think that's nice. I think next year, based on what I've heard, I'm going to be looking out for this one, signing up for it as early as I can.
Well, one thing that VXV does, and I wish more shows that have multi-events do this, you can basically apply to every show
All their shows
in one application, and then you can always follow up individually. But it's really nice whenever they have so many shows to just get that, so you're not copying pasting, a dozen times.
Yeah, and they didn't. You couldn't re-up while you were there.
I'm actually really glad to hear you say that, because it just occurred to me that I didn't, my guy didn't rebook, and I'm like, oh no, did I just miss out? But if nobody rebooked, then that's good.
Yeah, no rebook.
I will say, if anybody likes the sound of this, I just looked at their website. They still have lots of shows from March kind of onward. It looks like they still have either applications are still being processed or it's wide open. So
yeah, they put a little color indicator for each show.
Yeah,
right?
So once it turns red, it's sold out in their wait list. So there's still several shows you can try to do with them. I think, having never done one, after seeing what I saw, I think I would at least like to try a couple.
Yeah, I would try a couple. Depending on the area, it might be good, might be for your stuff, it might not, but I definitely think it's worth it. I do know the NWA one, the Northwest Arkansas one, got canceled for weather. So, but it was the same weekend as Central Carolina. So, but yeah.
Well, did you have a nice, easy way home? Because if not, I actually have a tale about getting home.
Yeah, it was actually very nice getting home. I got upgraded on the flight, which was nice. So I was very happy about that.
I don't have the full details, but my worker that did that show found out that he was delayed a full day to get back to Springfield, Missouri, where he lives, and so just a whole delay with Southwest. And sometimes Southwest is like, oh, here's a voucher for an hour delay. This one's a full day delay, and I feel like we're having to kind of fight them. We're like, hey, you guys, this was like a full day. Can we do something about this? And fill out this form, give them a call. So, but he got home eventually.
That's rough.
That's good.
The weather wasn't even that bad.
I think it was more of the Springfield, Missouri. Like his destination was a bit more of the issue.
I know. Ryan's flight got canceled, and it was like barely snowing. I was like, that doesn't track.
It didn't snow in Columbia.
There was
all
fine
over the runway in Charlotte, and I had no problem getting there somehow. But maybe they're just a little bit more used to it.
Dylan, I don't know. If you have your stuff in front of you, did you guys also? Would you consider this show a success?
So when we were chatting before the show, I was actually looking at the stats for Brick City, and that's where I was like, oh man. Then I switched it over right before the call, and now I'm like, oh yes, had a much better time than before. I was talking to you. In the end, for comparison, we had 5 shows that weekend. It was a very dense weekend, and it was our second best show. Surprisingly, New Orleans beat it. It did have that third day. But that was a close second, and that was only a 2-day, so I don't have the profit in front of me, but I can say pretty close to New Orleans, and only having 2 days. It was definitely a success.
I'd say, that's being able to compare it to a fan expo show in a big city. That's pretty good.
Oh, and definitely cheaper. I think $1,000 cheaper for that booth than for the exact same size.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
No, and the NOLA one's always a lot more expensive because it's Fan Expo, so they're going to charge more. But then you got to factor in the beignets and
I was say, but beignets.
yeah, you got to factor in those. I don't know if you're paying for those, but all right. Well, what else do we got? Silence is golden.
Yeah.
Do we have? Hold on. We do have this. Now that we've officially finished this, I think we can say.
Oh.
So, okay.
This podcast recorded in front of a live studio audience.
I'm gonna have fun with these going forward. All right.
I'm gonna look into disabling that going forward.
All right, cool. Well, short and sweet. And I guess we'll
around the time this is coming out, should be around MegaCon. So again, stop by each of our booths. We would love to chat with you. If we're not doing something special, we might be trying something new where we pop by a few other vendors and ask them how they're doing. If you guys are open to it. So hope to see you guys soon at MegaCon.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, Jeremy, take us home.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. And we will catch you next time.
Bye.